Today, I'm mixing my love of fabric and wreath making to craft a stunning fall wreath using scrap denim and fabric and even Dollar Tree florals. And the best part is it's a pancake wreath, so it'll fit between your doors. Let's get started. Okay, so to get started, the supplies that you're going to need are some denim fabrics. And I've got some dark and some lighter denim, and I'm using old blue jeans. And so you could do that too if you want. And I have this fabric that has like a lot of fall colors in it, and I've really had it like for 15 years at least. I never knew what I was going to do with it, and then looking at it, I decided it looks very much like fall color, so I'm going to use this as well. You're going to need some yarn or some jute string, or even some thinner ribbon if you'd rather use ribbon. And then I've got some orange ribbons in 2 different sizes, and I have some navy blue ribbon in a 3/8 inch size. I've got some fall autumn buttons that I picked out. I got these off of Amazon, and I want to use these to embellish the wreath. And of course, I've got some florals, and these are from the Dollar Tree, very inexpensive. And I just like the subtleness of these colors. They're not too bright, although I do have some brighter ones that I can use if I decide to do that. I've got a couple of brighter yellow sunflowers. Okay, and then you'll need some scissors, a metal wreath form, and this is from Amazon, and it's 12 inches, but you can use any of the other sizes that you want. The ones from the Dollar Tree are 14 inches. Okay, and you might need a few clips to help keep your things in place while you're starting to put them on. Okay, and so I'm going to put some of this aside and show you that I've already cut some strips. I've got my blue jean strips in dark and some of this fall-like fabric, my lighter shades of jeans, and I was thinking about cutting some of these 1.5 inch orange strips to go in here sporadically. I'm not going to put them like a lot of them in there, just every now and then to give it a little bit of pop of a color. Okay, now I cut these strips of blue jeans. They are approximately 2 by 8 inches. You can use 1.5 or 2.5. Really doesn't matter the width. It'll just give it a little bit more, texture if they're not as visible, if they're thinner. Even like this, I've got like this one that has a jagged edge on it. I'm just going to use it like it is. I'm not going to, worry about straightening it, and that's fine. And then you might even have some that have some seams, like this one has a bit of a seam from the blue jean. And you can use that too. It doesn't matter because it'll just give it a little bit more texture. Okay, so I'm just going to set these aside so we can start to build our base. Okay, and the way that I do this, I've done another wreath just like this or similar to this a few months ago for the 4th of July. And it's like an Americana blue jean wreath. And I'll put a card up here at the top so you can see, you can go to that video if you want to look at it. But it's basically the same way that I'm doing this one, except this one's all fall themed. And I might do a little bit of, something different to this one than I did the other one. Okay? So basically, I'm just going to start off by placing the strip. Oh, before I do that, I forgot to mention, you do need some yarn or some jute. And I'm cutting these down to about 6 inches. I'll just take my rotary cutter and cut. And so you'll need a bunch of these to tie these on. And I'm using this pretty, let's see, I think it's called Rust. Okay, yeah, so it's such a really pretty color, that dark orange. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of my yarns, take my first blue jean strip, and wrap it around the post like this. And then you just take your yarn or your jute and pull it up, kind of make it even as I can, and then tie it. I want to make sure that tying it pretty tight up against that last bar right here. And I'm going to pull it a little bit before I do another knot. So that's your first one. And I'm going to scrunch it up close to this bar right here. I'm going to try to hide that bar. And then I'll take my next one. And if you want, when you're squishing these close up to each other, you can let this raw edge come up. And, you know, if you like the fraying and all that, that's fine. But I like to fold in just a tad bit my next one, my next strip, and go over that seam. And I'm going to pull it close to that first strip, and then take my yarn and then go ahead and tie it. And again, I'm going to push it up against this blue jean strip and then tie a knot. Okay, and then I'll take the blue one and I'm going to turn it in just a tad. Sort of like making a hem, but you're not like sewing it or anything like that. If you want to sew it, you can. But I just basically turn it in so that I can cover the edge of the previous strip. And then I'm going to push it up against that strip and up against this one. So you want it kind of tight. And then I'll take my yarn and tie it really tight. And I'm going to tie it again in a knot. And that way they'll stay more securely. Also, you're going to put a lot of these on here. So when you do that, you're going to keep squishing it up against the one before. Okay, and so then from here, I will, let's try to put a orange ribbon right here. Now the orange you don't have to worry about folding over because it's already got an edge. This is a grosgrain ribbon, so, and it's very inexpensive ribbon. And all I did was I cut it into 8-inch strips, the same length as my other strips. Tie that real good. Tie it in a knot. Okay. And so then you'll start over again. And if you have other different colored denims that you would like to put in there, you could do that. You can, you know, put a variety of colors of denim or fabric. It's a great way to use up old scraps that you don't need anymore, or you know, that you're trying to figure out something to do with them. Just make a wreath with them. And it's also, you know, a different way to make a wreath rather than mesh, which is beautiful, of course, but you know, you're upcycling at the same time as making something unique. Okay, and squish it towards that one. I'm going to pull this one a little bit so you can see more of that, the blue jean. Okay, and then I'll start back again with the blue. Or, no, it's the brown. Okay, and so I'll just go ahead and keep going, rotating the colors all the way around. And then when I get to the last part, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to finish it off. And then we'll move on to embellishing it. Okay, so I've gotten to the end where I'm going to put my last piece. And I want to show you how I'm going to do that. But before I start on that, I wanted to tell you really quick that I went ahead and I swapped out the 1.5-inch ribbon for the 7/8-inch ribbon, or you can use 1 inch. Because it's a grow grain, it's a little stiffer, and the 1.5-inch I think was too big to go in between here because I just wanted, little peeps of the orange to come through. So I went ahead and opted for the smaller one. I just want to let you know that so that if you're going to use the grow grain ribbon, that you might want to use a smaller one. And also, if you're going to use a satin ribbon, the satin ribbon will probably squish, together a lot better than the grow grain. So you could probably use a bigger one if it's satin. Okay, so I want to show you how we're going to do our last piece here. And remember, I was telling you how I would fold the edges here so that it makes like a hem. So I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. I'm going to meet it to the end. And then I'm going to take a clip and clip it right here just to hold that side together. Because you want to do the same thing on the other side so that you're not seeing the raw edge. And so I'll just turn it, and I'm going to go and fold in that edge. This. And then I'll fold it on the back as well because that way it's not going to come unfolded in the front. And it doesn't have to be very much. It's just like 1/4 inch. Okay, and so once you do that, then you can take your yarn and bring it all together and secure it with the yarn. Okay, and you can go and make all these evenly, as even as possible around until you get the right look that you like. Okay, and now about the leftover yarn pieces here. You can go and you can cut just right above these knots if you want, if you don't want the yarn to stay on here. But we're going to go and put bows and buttons and embellish on top of these. So it's not going to really show if you do cut it. Or if you want to, you can do, even with some jute, is you can unravel each of your strands like this. And you just turn it in the opposite way that it's twisted to untwist it. And you get like this little cute little curly effect. Now we're going to go and we're going to trim all this evenly around the whole thing. So it's not going to be longer than your blue jeans. So if you like that look, you can do that. I think I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go ahead and unravel each of these. I like that curly look to it. Then we'll go and use our buttons and bows to embellish all around it. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead and unravel all these, and then I'm going to trim it even with the shortest of my blue jeans. You know, when you're tying them on, some of them might be a little short than others, like these are a little bit longer. So you're just going to take your scissors and you're going to trim all the way around evenly. And if you don't want your blue jeans sticking out that long, you can also trim it shorter. Just whatever that you prefer. Okay? So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've lost my footage of how I put all these ribbons on here, so I'm going to explain to you real quick. I went ahead and I did unravel all of the yarn, as you can see, and then I trimmed around the entire thing, making it all nice and even. And then I took some of this green wired ribbon. It's let's see, 5/8 inch, and I made little bows with them. And then with my navy blue ribbon, the navy blue ribbon is 3/8 inch, and I made bows out of it. I cut the green at 9 inches and the blue at 8 inches. So I just made some little bows by, let's see, I'll cut one and show you. So to make each of the bows, I just took my ribbon and folded it like an awareness ribbon. And then I put a little bit of dab of hot glue right here, and then another one at the top, and just brought it in like this to make a bow. Very simple. You can make it as, you know, long as you want. All right, and then I just went around and I glued my fall colored buttons to it. And then I left a section up here at the top because this is where I'm going to put my bow. And I already made the bow as well. But you can go on the other video that I did, a blue jean Ruth, the Americana video. I'll list that video at the end. And I have on there how to make the bow as well. Okay, and so this is the bow I came up with, and I'm just going to attach it to the top like this. And then I'm going to decide to see, I could put a flower in the middle. And I have several different looking, you know, different flowers. There's a daisy. And I also have a sunflower. But sunflower is just a little too yellow for me, so I'm not going to use that one. And I also have this other sunflower that I could use. And you can, you know, slip in some greenery or flowers on the sides of the bow as well. So it's just whatever it matches your decor and your tastes. Okay, so I'm going to finish attaching all this to the wreath, and then I'll hang it up to let you see what it looks like. So here we are. What's great about this kind of wreath is that you can fit it in between your doors. So if you have a storm door on your front door, and you don't have to worry about the weather messing up the fabric. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment. If you've watched the video all the way through, leave me a pumpkin or a leaf emoji in the comments. So until our next video, bye-bye for now.